Oh, let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to the pod, and I'm delighted to welcome on the amazing Andrian Luchian. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you, and excited because we've spoken a little bit before we hit record about what you've got ready for us today. But yeah, before we begin and get into that good stuff, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure everybody knows the kind of work that you do and the stuff that you're famous for. But if you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick origin story as to who you are and what you do.
Sure. Originally, I'm from Moldova, where I was born and raised, and I also did industrial design degree there. And after that, I had a chance to get a job at Ubisoft in Romania. I was a 3D artist there for about 3 years, and then had a chance to become a concept artist. It was a big change for me. Always was aspiring to do that, and
Nice.
from there, I was going through several different studios and countries. For about 10 years, I've been like rolling around through different studios, basically. Yeah. And last 8 years, I've been basically working as a freelancer. Had a chance to work for like studios like CAG, Disney, Framestore, Blur Studio, Sony Pictures. Just finished a project for Netflix. Lots of fun. At this point in my career, I'm more about, probably all about is like sci-fi, vehicles, hard surface, optimistic future, and all that kind of stuff, fun stuff.
Mm. So you mentioned industrial design. Did you go straight from that's the study, right? And did you go straight into concept art, or was there kind of like a little adventure in between?
What we were doing at the industrial design, it was very, very much concept art, concept design, I would call, because in my view, art is something else. So yeah, we were doing more like technical thing, oriented and to be engineered and later go into the production. And as a rule of thumb, we were mostly oriented into the concepts, or like the guys who were doing concept. That was a fun thing to do, so kind of it was the most fun you could get out of it. But beside this, we of course we learned the technical part, engineering, materials, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Is that something that you wanted to do, or is that something you fell into? Like, did you kind of know early on that I want to do this?
Well, I've been into visual representation, let's say, so since early age. I was surrounded by artist friends. My brother liked to draw, and he was all about Star Wars when we were younger. And I think I've been quite influenced by all that. And he took me to Star Wars when I was about 5 or so. And then that kind of had a big impact on me. Yeah, and since then I was kind of into that direction. Industrial design came unexpected because I had a friend of mine who we would always, geek out and draw and speak about films and all that cool stuff. And he would study there already, and he would just recommend me. So I decided, why not, and give it a try. And actually, it turned out to be exactly what I needed. And we had supportive teachers, and overall, it was a very good atmosphere at the university that kind of motivated me and pushed forward. Yeah, I felt the progress, and I was like really motivated to do cool stuff.
And did you find that the pathway to working in concept art, was that obvious to you?
Yeah, that was a really natural extension from the university, basically. Yeah, so it's again, industrial design and entertainment industry. These are quite different things, and like entertainment entertainment industry is more about creating something that looks fun, that looks engaging, that would, it doesn't have to be exactly engineered or explained. Also, it definitely has to look that it is, right? So from that point of view, it's
Yes.
while the engineering part, like industrial design, is more about having something that it is engineered and it goes through the process and it has to be, very like strict budgets of production and all that crazy stuff that goes after my work. After I'm done my work, the engineers will come in and they would be like, oh, wait a second, this line is not good, it doesn't fit, and that's, it just would add additional expenses and so on and so on, and then we just have to cut and reduce the thing. So it's like different type of problem solving, yeah. But fun-wise, so as soon as we were doing concepts and at university, then it was, for me, it was like a natural transition from the university from the industrial design into the entertainment industry.
Perfect. Do you, because I know exactly what you mean, like the concept art, kind of like methodology and the problem solving versus the industrial design one. Do you have a favored one, or do you not even see it that way?
Favorite one? What do you mean? Sorry, can you
like the
expand
the way you tackle problems and the way you solve problems?
Oh yeah. I mean, industrial design. It's, if you think about like when you create something, you basically have 3 steps. You have proportions, you have volumes, surfacing, and you have details. As soon as you operate in those terms, it's like it doesn't matter what you do in hard surfacing. You will get the right results. Of course, the experience adds up to all that, but this is like a framework for getting something done, basically.
And when did you like? Because you mentioned obviously the different kind of like things that you enjoy, especially like sci-fi's and hard surface. Where did the love for vehicles come from? Is it like a kind of like a mini origin story to that?
Yes, it is actually. After I graduated from the university, I had I've been doing the 3D at the Ubisoft, and later I've been doing more like illustration concept artwork that was not as much related to the industrial design and vehicles in general, hard surface overall. And I've been working even on cartoony projects, and it was, I see it as a journey actually for me. It was like I went through several different projects, art experience that it just helped me to understand what I like and what I'd like to, invest my time into and develop myself into. It's like, it's basically, you kind of went through all that, and at the end of the day, it ended up where I am. During this process, I was at one point I was like, I don't want to touch 3D at all. I was out of like being in the studio and doing everyday 3D. It kind of builds up, and it starts to be. Don't want to say stressful or something, but it's kind of very technical, and it's stressful at one point, But doing 2D, which I like to do later on, which was the illustration and concept art, that was like less stress, more fun, just enjoying the process and kind of drawing things and figuring out how to create the characters and so on and so on. So all that kind of added up, and I really enjoyed doing that. But at one point in my career, I was like, okay, so I had that fun, but I felt like I stuck there, something I couldn't just make the next step. And I was like, okay, so wait, I have that old background of 3D actually, that I went through the university in my first years at in the studio in my career. And it was just, that's what I need. I just need to go back, use all that knowledge and bring it up into the, next step. And I think that's already like for about like 10 years since I'm spending time into that. I have that kind of approach to it. And yeah, like hard surface is coming from there, basically.
Sick. What kind of like techniques were you taught at uni? And yeah, I got another question after that one. But did you, I guess two questions in one. So when you were coming up, when you were growing up and before you hit the uni, what kind of tools were you creating with versus what you were taught at uni?
So at uni, actually, it was early 2000s, 2003. I graduated in 2007. And it was like early age of concept art, so to say. There weren't too many artists, concept artists. There was a CG Talk, CG Channel. There was Concept Art.org, and these were the places to go to get inspired and to see the cool stuff. And at the university, they started just making the shift, from the traditional drawing and traditional approach to the industrial design into using software, basically like 3D Max, Maya, SolidWorks. That's a particular very kind of industry oriented, and a lot of drawing. Did a lot of drawing, a lot of painting, clay modeling, a lot of that kind of base knowledge that it's required, for becoming a professional in the industry. So from there, I was, that knowledge. So basically, I learned Maya by myself mostly, and when I got to get a job, and now they were like all of a sudden, oh, but we don't need Maya. We do everything in 3D Max, And I spent that like about 4 or 5 years at the university just getting used to Maya and make all my projects in Maya. And all of a sudden, I'm into environment and surrounded by people who work only in 3D Max. So it was a bit of. But at the end of the day, I got used to it and kind of managed to understand it and learn it. It was pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, how did you find that difference or that journey from like translating software? Because I remember a similar kind of pathway. It was Alias Studio tools, and then from there I discovered Maya, and then Maya was like kind of like my go-to, and then I didn't make the jump when I saw everything being 3ds Max or C4D or other stuff. Never really Maya what I was kind of using in specific cases. But then eventually I ended up being Blender. But how did you find, because it was easy to kind of like, oh, not easy, but it's quite common when you have like a tool and you get familiar with it and you can get your results from it and you kind of just stick with it. And you kind of like, it's like when you buy a new pair of shoes, like it kind of, after a while, it kind of just fits you exactly.
Yeah. You get used to it, right?
Yes. Into it kind of thing. Exactly. But then obviously when you try and change again, it's kind of a little bit annoying. So what was that kind of like transition like for you? Like, did you find it quite difficult or did you find it quite easy to translate? It was just certain menus were in different places.
As soon as you get into an environment of like a project where everyone is using one tool, and there is another person who kind of is always open for you to ask and to, whatever questions you have about it. Yeah. So for me, it was really easy because I knew how it works in Maya and I just had to formulate my question and ask the right person, And it was pretty quick. The transition happened really quick. And as soon as you're in the production, you need to give results basically, So, and that process kind of went really quick. So I think it took me a month or so just to readjust.
Yeah, that's nothing, man. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's nice. What's your tool set now? Is it still the same?
I still use 3D Max, but not as much as before. So 3D Max I'm using mostly for kit bashing in case I need it. I really like the way 3D Max has the groupings, like to group things together, which I miss in Blender, by the way. I think Blender is an amazing tool, but it's excellent, and it's just the universal tool for everything, you know. Yes. But for me, it's just because I had the background of 3D Max, and for me, it's a bit. You know, I just have to really learn another tool and getting into Blender, which I kind of already did. You know, it's like because many projects that I worked on, they require the Blender work, and kind of have a general kind of experience with it. But 3D Max is one of the tools. I use Moi. Moi is CAD software.
Cool.
It's a semi-CAD, I would say. It's more like a CAD oriented into concept design. Because, you know, if comparing it with SolidWorks, for example, which is very technical and it has a lot of constraints, you can't do some things without doing other things before. Moi is very like straightforward, and you can change whatever you want anytime. You know, it's kind of easy. I think I've learned that tool in like a weekend or something. Really, it literally has like 15 buttons or so. But it's a very powerful tool, to be honest. Yeah. But I mean, Moi is just another tool. You know, there is also plasticity that it's now it's more trendy. I think more people are using that thing. Plasticity, great tool. Also on my list to be learned. You know.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, Moi is one that kind of like I didn't end up trying. Like, it always just seemed to like slip through the cracks. It ended up being fusion, and then it now is plasticity, and it's just interesting. Like, similar to yourself, like over the years, how you kind of still get the same results from what you want to do, but the tools have changed. And you mentioned an interesting phrase there, like trendy. Like sometimes it's just a trend thing, and ultimately, when you think about it, it is just a case of as long as you can get the results that you want, it doesn't really, obviously, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, I don't know. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. But like, do you find that you get either FOMO or curiosity about tools?
No, I think it's more that what is useful. So if considering that, well, I start using moments of inspiration when I got into hard surface. Like what happened actually is I think I've lost my, or you know, restructuring in the company, and they kind of fired many people, and I was between them. And it was that moment when I was like, okay, now I have a lot of time, and I need to figure out what to do next. And you know, learning Moi was one of those, like it was on the list basically. And because I've learned SolidWorks, some knowledge about it, and I've got at the university, and for me it was quite easy to understand how the program works. It's slightly different approach to CAD software than, you know, traditional 3D software, let's say, so like 3D Max, Maya, or Blender. And so I kind of learned it quick. And if you do hard surface, I think you need to use the right tools for it. It's like and Moi, Fusion 360, plasticity. These are like really tools that fit to concept design, like work in general.
Yeah, totally. And I think I mean, there's evidence everywhere. Like, there's so many great designers, especially in hard surface and concept design.
Absolutely,
and you probably find an excellent example of someone doing something in a software that is definitely not the one that maybe is your go-to, or in one that you least expect. And ultimately, that kind of does highlight that it is just about either obviously the design skill, the vision that you have, and understanding really what makes form sing, and how to basically extract that out of, like, say, a design or an idea, or even from a sketch. But specifically, like, say, in tools. So let's say there's someone does Control Alt Delete on all software that's in existence, but then from tomorrow you're able to now pick and choose what you need in a software, what would you pick?
Well, I think I'll still go with Moi or just plasticity, learn it, because the thing is that it requires a mindset when you do the process of work, it's really about the way you think about it when creating a shape, a volume, while when you use a classic 3D software, it just more steps to do. It's a different thinking about the process of work, and I think if you do hard surface, you have to use softwares that are kind of made for it, basically.
Excellent.
Besides
totally
this,
agree with you 1,000,000%.
Besides this, I also use ZBrush. Sorry, not ZBrush. I don't know ZBrush. I'm using the Keyshot for rendering. Because Moi is kind of limited just for the model. It can give you a general, very a good lighting and a good read on the shape, on the volumes, but you need an additional software to be able to render it out.
That's where I think plasticity does have an edge, because you got that Blender bridge. So I think it's been pretty robust for me. I don't think it's been too much of an issue. It's not perfect, but it's just been fine. But you can get your lighting all set up how you would want it, whatever you want to need to evaluate the surfaces and what have you. And you just keep sending it or have a live update, and you can see it that way. But at the same time, then it's like you have to have two softwares open. You kind of always want to do it in one place. But I like what you said there. It's about whatever allows you to essentially just work the forms and work the shapes and things that get in the way. And I remember in my 3D journey, sometimes it was a case of exactly what you just said, like getting in the way, I'm getting too technical on things that's not design, which basically defeats the kind of point, become more of a technician's issue versus solving a design solution issue.
They're also very
on
distracting.
That alone,
it's very distracting. Yes. I mean, as soon as you're not focused only on design and creating the volume, I find modeling or creating in 3D Max the same volumes as I do in Moi. They're like you need to spend more attention on selecting the vertices. You need to spend more attention on how to, if you want a shape, you need to select a set of edges, and just doing that, it takes you it takes your attention. That's very kind of I wouldn't say annoying, but it just takes out from that experience, of creating something in a quick way. And I think Moi and softwares like that, they give you exactly that kind of approach.
Would you agree that sketching, essentially using a stylus or a pen, is one that never gets in the way? That is the perfect way to just explore forms?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's where it comes from. That's a skill that it actually needs time to develop. It's not only a skill that, just to be able to draw something. It's like a technical skill, let's say so, just the ability to be able to draw. But beside this, you need to have a library of, a visual library that you would have that kind of, layers running through your mind that would come up when you hear a briefing, or when you hear or you want to create something for yourself or something that kind of goes through all that stuff all the time, and when you start drawing, it just hit, you just start doing it and it comes up the way you want it, or you just try again, it's kind of I would say it's a compound from two skills basically that has to be aligned together.
obviously looking at your work and seeing your work over the years, you're someone who definitely loves to sketch, not only just to
I do.
show it, but you could tell like the way you use the line work and the way you design with it and the results you can get. Like you can say, okay, this is a designer that definitely knows how to make this medium sing. Um,
Mm.
have you ever fallen off it, or has that always been a constant for you? Like sketching, is that always there happening?
I think I did fall off it. Yes, I did. It was like always up and down, So
Okay.
it's like because sometimes there are projects that
Uh-huh.
just roll for, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, and they don't necessarily require like the sketching part, and you would be focused more on like on technical, rendering maybe some scenes or getting some shapes in 3D and all that stuff, and it kind of pushes you away from the sketching. Also, I would say that sketching is very important to practice all the time.
Mm-hmm. And regarding when it comes, we'll get to obviously this section, I guess, in more detail later on. But and this is a double-edged question: is there a
Mm.
part of the process that you enjoy the most of, and that could be like a technical phase of the process, or maybe just the theoretical side of things? And equally, is there a part of the process that, no matter how hard you try or have tried over the years, you
Mm.
just never ever going to enjoy it?
I don't think so, actually.
Cool.
I think I'm lucky enough to be in a position when I create what I like to really, and I have all necessary tools for that, and I I have the skill for that. Basically, it's kind of I'm really like I enjoy sketching when I have time for it. I really enjoy like working in softwares that allow me to get the right shape, and then adding details and all that, rendering everything out. That's just fun. Just creating all that stuff, it's just so much kind of. I really
Mm.
enjoy that. Yeah, I can't say that there is
Excellent
anything,
answer.
any part of the project that I would have hard time with. Sometimes there are challenging things. For example, um, when you grow, in as a specialist, you become you start from like first like you would design pen, then you would design a cup, or then you would design a toy, or a bigger object, industrial design. And next step probably would be automotive design. You would design a vehicle, and from
Mm-hmm.
there, you want to make next step. That's maybe a spaceship, a boat. Again, it might be small. It doesn't have to be big sizes. Then it's a bigger ship. Maybe that's a huge ship. Then it's like a cruiser or something, like like really big station or something like that. Then it goes into architecture, right? You can do like a crazy and building worlds, basically, right? Bringing environments up. And at each step of this progress, I think it's a challenge to make that step up. And for me, it was like that, because I would just, I would kind of be good at something that I do. But every now and then there would be a task that would require that, and I would be, oh, okay, that's cool, and it's challenging, and I would be always like, yeah, let's do it, So it's kind of, um, um, I went through that, and it's like, it's a lot of fun to go through it as well. But it's like performing basically each time, It's like you get a bit of that emotional feeling that you never had the experience to do, So you're like, well, okay, I did only
Uh-huh.
that, so maybe now it's next step to do something better, something bigger, something, something that you're not comfortable with.
Are there any do you know what that next step is for yourself? And B, are there any things or subjects that you've yet to tackle that you really want to tackle?
Oh, well, as I said, I would definitely want to learn a new software like plasticity, I think, or Um, in my list there is a book to create. I would really like to get into creating several worlds that would intertwine in a narrative of a book, something like that. That would be a lot of fun, I think, for me, and it would
Okay.
be like gaining the experience that I haven't had before.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that's more of an intrigue thing and see how you would find that? Or is that something that you're really drawn to and it's like something that you must do?
Um, yeah, that's a hard thing to frame. To I think for me I think it's more must do. It feels like it just pops up, like a signal coming to me all the time. It's like that, and I would do something else, another project, another kind of commercial stuff, and that would come again. That, when I have the free time, that would
Okay.
begin. That, go there, go there, go there. It feels a bit like that.
I I can relate to you 1,000,000%. I think a lot of people who have that thing that pops in is that's the
Mhm.
way it is, right? So that thing, we won't give it a name for now. Um, how long has that been popping in and out?
Uh, Always, I would say, because it's not that it goes
Wow.
to one particular thing, but it's a progressive thing. So the goal is basically always shifting. It comes from
Ah,
like basic kind of experience that you do, and then you do something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it kind of takes you there. Yeah.
and not to give too much away, unless you would like to.
hmm
Have you embarked on that? Like, are there certain flashes of that kind of thing or that project or some of those worlds that they're starting to kind of like starting to form?
yeah, definitely. I would say most of personal projects I plan to integrate in one shape or a form into the product, into the final product, the book, let's say so.
Yes.
Um, I really
Yes.
want to have a narrative that would somehow represent a positive, optimistic world. Something that is, like a future where maybe far in space, or maybe somewhere another planet, or
Uh
maybe
huh.
even on Earth, but that would be representing that particular, kind of idea.
And why that particular, I guess, theme, optimistic future? Like, is there more of a reason behind that, or is that just the canvas that you've chosen?
I don't think it's a reason. It's just something that I drawn to. I think. Um, I mean, if you see
Mm-hmm.
what I like, if you look into my portfolio, you basically have a bit of that feeling. I
Yep.
guess. I hope. Um,
Yes.
and I think I don't really like. I mean, I can do if someone would ask me, and that would be a commercial project, and say like, okay, we need some weapons, we need spaceships that are military and all that stuff. So it's a hard surface. I definitely enjoy doing all kinds of hard surface, and if that would be, as a task, I would definitely jump on it. But if you ask me what I would do in my free time, I would probably like develop that more. I'd like to have like a line um, of designs that I can combine together in one narrative, or like have maybe several spaceships that I can bring together into one visual, like in a way, kind of in a big image, maybe in a landscape, or have to integrate all this together. And it feels like each time I would create a new
Mm-hmm.
spaceship that just adds up to it.
By the way, it definitely shows in the work. Like from a technical side, which we'll get to see in a few moments of like how that comes across.
Mm.
There's a nice blend of like I had it. I had the perfect phrase for it before we started the call, and I just emptied my brain. But I just like the balance that you have of like it's precise, but it's not clinical, and it's loose, but it's not rough. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
And everything that you see, or when I look at your work, it's like a celebration of form and a celebration of what that particular design is. That's the vibe I get from it.
thank you. Yeah, thanks. It's a great compliment. It's like that's. I'm happy you see it, and I hope other people see that too. It's something that inspires me, and that's what drives me basically. That kind of that approach to things, to creating, like to do designs. Um, I know, like it for every designer is different way. Some are just inspired by um, you know more military or more hard-edged things, and they do fantastic work on that. Uh, for me, it works more like that kind of surfacing design. I get inspired a lot from
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm,
car
mm-hmm.
industry. I think car industry is it's if you consider the time someone spends, or like projects that go in vehicle designs and in car and automotive design, um, they take years, and those designers, they craft every line, every centimeter of it, every millimeter of it, and it's something that actually entertainment design doesn't do. We 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 need to do something that looks impressive, that looks, kind of, and it busy, right? That's also a thing. And and we don't, and entertainment design it doesn't pay so much attention on, um, like detailing it out as much as the automotive design. And that's why I'm really inspired by like the automotive design in general. It's the way they create the surfacing. It's way more advanced than, maybe I'm going too far saying that, but yeah, they're really good at doing that, to defining the shape, you know. And what I try to do is adapt that approach to spaceships, or to industry, kind of to the entertainment industry, basically. It's harder to do, but
Excellent.
it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Sick. Well, firstly, that's good to hear because especially in design, yes, you can do it for the job of it, for the task of it, and completing a task. But if there's no fun in it, it is that's the key thing that really makes, in my opinion, like some of the best designs sing. Is that fun element, whatever shape it comes in.
Mhm.
Now, but back to your point of like the form and the surfacing and all that kind of side. Basically, it's quite clear that you know what your groove is, you know what you like, and you know what you want to meditate on. Have you had moments in your journey where, even though you've been aware of that, you've tried to break from it because maybe you felt it would make you a more employable designer, or you thought the industry needed it? Or has that never been the case for you?
No, not really. Maybe I was just lucky. I don't know. But it's, I mean, commercial projects, they always come and go. It's like, as a freelancer, you have to accept that it's never constant. And there are moments when you get a lot of offers, which you just can't handle, because there's so many. And there are moments when there
Mm-hmm.
is nothing, and you have to accept this, basically. For me, it's more like, I adapted a path that I like, that I'm motivated by. And if someone else finds me and thinks that I am a good fit for the project, I'll be just happy to contribute. Yeah, I think I never been into the situation that I have to negotiate with myself. Rather, I want to change my style, or to have that kind of dilemma with myself.
That's perfect way to explain it, and I think that's also important for people to hear. I mean, one thing I will say about from what I've observed with the Shiptember audience is at least everybody who's taken part over the years, everybody you can tell is, at least from what I can see from the outside looking in, that is comfortable and happy to do things the way they want to do it and explore the way they want to do it. And I've seen artists, like I've seen them evolve over the years, but you could, when I see the work post, I'm like, oh, I know who did that. I know who did that. I know who did that. And yours is the same cases with that as well. But at the same time, I think, yeah, just to recap, for someone who may be thinking, for whatever reason, like, should I change? Should I not change? Of course, if it's on your terms, go ahead. But if you've already found your groove and you've already got something that connects with you, like that's what it's about. Don't lose that. Don't change it, because it's like leaving, I don't know, gold on the floor. Like, what's the point? Like, you've got it already. Just continue with it.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, from other hand, it still depends, because you would get projects that are not really. I mean, art directors might see your portfolio and understand that you articulated enough with communicating visual style, and you have enough skill to do that, and you have a good eye for details and visual library in general, and they would see you a good fit for the project, even if the tasks or required outcome does not necessarily has to be exactly your style that you have and that you kind of represent in a way. So, they would just, okay, if he has all that we need, we can, hire him. And that usually happens, I think, most of the time.
Inspirations. So we've heard what motivates you as a designer and what you're gravitated towards and what your design philosophy is. But what are the kind of things that led to that? Like, what were your inspirations? Was it movies? Was it games? Was it real life?
Well, I definitely got inspired, like, by other artists. We are a community at the end of the day, and it's a you see, when someone creates something, it just pushes you too. You want to do something too. It's like, I don't know if you experience that, but if you just by yourself and you completely don't follow anyone, you just kind of in your box, you get at one point. Sorry, you get at one point when it's really hard to get out of it, to make the next step, and even like to motivate yourself to do the next project. Not only in terms of evolving as a style, but also in terms of just do the other thing that you like to do, and it's hard to push yourself. And when you see one of these top artists doing something and posting, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I want to do something, again. I want to get back and feel that kind of groove, as you say. And that pushes you. So from this point of view, I think I see like the design art community, mostly entertainment, but also automotive industry too, like as a big like pool of inspiration. Yeah, definitely.
And moving away from the sketchbook and the canvas, are there things away from, and let's be honest, like, you can never really be away from your brain and your design and the creative process, but are there things that people maybe wouldn't consider art and design that have a massive influence on you?
In design? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to come up with a particular thing, I think, because this is like a compilation of many small things that you saw through your life experience, basically. And maybe at one time I saw a Porsche that I was like, wow, that's really good solution there, and it looks amazing. Other time I would say see a spaceship in the film, or something else that someone found a solution that haven't been before there. Something that it's new, it's fresh, and this is it's hard to say that there is a constant stream coming from that person. It's more like you get glimpses out like here and there that connect with you, and you just add them up to your library. I think that's the way it works.
Uh-huh. And just on the topic of spaceships themselves, is there, because obviously you mentioned like, the way you like to look at optimistic design and optimistic future, and that kind of sets the parameters of what you're aiming for. But is there something else that a spaceship represents for you as a designer?
Yeah, the idea of a spaceship actually is such a wide, it covers, it's like, if you think about the spaceship, it was that representative of the future, back in 70s, maybe 60s, when first spaceships were created, right? Like first fly in space and so on and so on. So that was very representative of like where we go, like a future. And later on, it just grew into culture. I think it became part of that, representative of what is out there. We don't have that technology yet, but we go in that direction. Like we're gonna get there sooner or later, and being able to represent it, to emphasize it in a specific shape and form, that's you just give a glimpse to someone, and maybe some engineer will see it, maybe someone that will get inspired and say like, hey, that's a cool thing. I'm gonna, be motivated by it and maybe create something cool on their edge.
And on the flip side, when designing and creating spaceships and coming up with all these solutions, as a professional, whether it's for work or even just in your creative process or even other projects, do you find that working on spaceships kind of gives you maybe a better insight when it comes to designing or coming up with solutions in other things?
Yeah, I mean, if I understand your question correctly, other things inspire me equally, which are not spaceship related or sci-fi related, or like it's just from just experience that happens. Just go on the street, you walk on the street, and you see maybe someone dressed interesting, a good choice of colors or a good choice of outfit, and that can inspire into. When I travel, I have this all the time. If I have my camera with me, I'm like, I walk and I see scenarios everywhere. Like I see, oh, that's a cool thing. I want to use that. And I continue in my mind like how that might look, and I take a picture of it, and then I would come back home and I would be like, okay, trying to develop it in something. Most of the time they just stay on my hard drive, but that experience is really motivating, and definitely like just finding elements in just everywhere you go, everywhere you see things, and it's like just that kind of experience. It can be motivating. It doesn't have to be like spaceship film, or it doesn't have to be design particular, but just this casual things that you would see somewhere and you would just adapt to it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's a topic that I'm forever fascinated by. So with that said, what were the latest few things on your travels, maybe, or elsewhere, that really captured your imagination and are like, because you get those inspirations where it's kind of like, okay, that would be cool. If I mix this with this, that would be interesting. And then there's some that just feel like you've been hit in the face. like, by a heavyweight boxer, and you just can't escape that thought process or whatever is triggered inside your creative process, whatever. So in recent times, what have those things been?
Um, well, like if I think about hobbies in general, I don't have a hobby except what I do. It's like I do work because I like doing that, and I do my personal work because I like doing that too. And that's basically my hobby.
Yes. Yes.
But traveling, I would like to think about it as a hobby. And this is something that, recently or last year, I've been traveling to Japan, and that was a huge pool of inspiration there, because the way, and it's not particularly only about Japan, don't want to make like commercial or anything about it, but it's, if you go to different cultures, you have that experience of uniqueness, and the way these particular people do that thing. And for example, in Japan, they have like solutions for vehicles, for elementary things that, just on the street, like the lamppost or the way stores are assembled, the architecture. And I've noticed that, for example, in Japan, they would have more rounded edges on their architecture rather than Western style. And everything is very boxy and sharp edges, sharp angles. So that's kind of, and it's like a design language, that is representative for a particular culture. And that's very inspiring. I find it like I really enjoyed like traveling and kind of noticing these little things and applying it into my work. Yeah. Hope this answers your question.
Sick. No, definitely, definitely. Cool. So let's head to our segments. So the first one is the Cryopod segment. So effectively, we're going to be launching you off in a cryopod. All life support, all that kind of good stuff's taken care of. The destination's unspecified, but it's going to be for quite a long time. So what 3 things would you like or need with you on that journey?
3 things. Okay. Are there any conditions to that? Is it like, is there like a story to it, or is it just like I'm in a cryopod?
It's up to you. It's basically a ruse just to kind of find out what's important to you as a creative or a person.
Yeah. Okay.
But
okay.
yeah, we could set some parameters specifically. So in terms of like surviving, we don't need anything in that regard. I guess it's more to pass the time because you'll be semi-conscious or at least conscious. So you'll be experiencing the journey, but it won't be something that's like, I guess, you'll feel light years, for example. So have you seen them? Have you watched Raised by Wolves?
Yes, I saw. I watched the first season. Yes.
So the way they handle like cryo sleep, let's think of something like that, but not as grim.
Okay. I think I would need a reminder. I would need to know where I come from and where I go. So I think I would need a sketchbook, a data pod. No, a sketchbook I think is better because I can write there and I can have like physical objects, like a photo, for example, of my past life or like where I come from. And
interesting.
I think there should be like written on it, like on a sketchbook, why did I do it? And it's like a reason. So that's something that would remind me all the time why I left, like friends, family, Earth, right? And
interesting.
What is that I want to achieve, where I go, so kind of to bring me to that thought loop all the time. So I kind of into it, so that it motivates me to do the thing. As a second tool, or like not tool. I think the second object, it has to be a tool actually.
Okay.
I think a screwdriver, or maybe no. Let's say a screwdriver. That's a handy tool actually, right? It's a. I need something
Okay. Okay.
that would make me feel secure, and something that, even though there is no
Interesting.
immediate danger or something, but something that I would like to have as a, just a reminder that whatever bad it goes, I have that tool with me. And maybe a screw. Okay, let's go with
Sick.
let's go with lightsaber. Can I take a lightsaber?
Of course you can.
I think lightsaber is a great tool to take with you because you can
Perfect.
use it for cooking, you can use it for cutting bread, you can use it for many things. And the third thing would be probably something to make me feel good. Something to. I think a pack of cookies. I will take with me a pack of cookies. Chocolate cookies.
Excellent.
Chocolate chip cookies. Yes,
Cool.
it's a great solution to soothe your spirit and to make friends.
Sick.
Have you seen Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
Yeah, that's true.
There was that moment when he was traveling through mountains.
I've forgotten it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that moment when he travels through mountain, and there is a warlord that he meets, like on a horse, very like angry looking dude. And he gives him a piece of apple pie or something like that, and the guy just bites into it, and his face just changes. He's a completely different person, very friendly and very kind of, he's like, oh yeah. So I think a cookie in the right time, it's a great solution, or a great way to make friends. Yeah. So yeah. Alien friends.
Oh mate, that is excellent. That is excellent. That's going to be the most well considered one so far. And one thing's for sure, if these do happen in real life for all the guests so far, you're probably the one that's going to most likely survive because you've got yourself very well prepared. On the journey from when you left, during it, and when you get there as well. Cool. So that's the end of the Cryopod section. Second section, Dropship. So you should be able to screen share at the bottom somewhere if you want to screen share, or we can add it in post afterwards. Do you have a design of yours that you think would fit perfectly in an existing universe or IP that it doesn't live in already?
I do. I think it's I was thinking about Star Wars, but it's okay. Let's go with that one actually first. Actually, I have two that I would think. Can I choose two? So
perfect. Let's go. Of course
the manta ray, because I was inspired by Star Wars when I did it, and it's quite far design language. The manta ray. Let me just try to find the.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the ship that got me inspired from Star Wars. Particular design of Doc Chang. Big fan of his work, and I just wanted to have like a twist on how else it might be, and in the context of what if that would be Porsche design, So again, if you think about like Star Wars has a very industrial theme, like industrial revolution theme. Like if you think about the shape and design language in general of Star Wars, it kind of brings me back to early industrial revolution, those kind of very boxy shapes, very kind of, a lot of elements outside rather than inside. So the design approach is more functional rather than aesthetic, kind of that even though it has aesthetic part of it as well, but it has that aspect to it. And I really like what they created in first, second, and third episode with like Naboo Fighter and design language in general. They completely changed it, and they went. I've been to Dog Chang talk and in Trojan Horse was a unicorn, and he was particularly speaking about this topic, saying that their goal was to bring it one step back, as if we had the Industrial Revolution with most of the spaceship in Star Wars, but for the first, second, and third, they wanted to take a step back, as if the story that happened before the Industrial Revolution, and that was the Art Nouveau, and that was this kind of different approach to, and they brought up that thing to it. So I think with this design, I was kind of trying to go into that direction, but also bringing it more modern level, like more techie or like more stylized, like shape and surfacing and all that. And at the same time, keeping a profile of a manta ray, like having a design that represents like very stylized, not obvious creature that everyone is familiar with. Yeah, so that would be probably one
when
ship.
you do with that, so you got like specific parameters. So obviously you got the Star Wars, and then doing a redesign of it, and then obviously having the manta ray. Do you enjoy that kind of like those kind of limitations?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, otherwise I'd probably not do it, but it's a personal project, and it's something that really inspired me, and I wanted to have something that would be representing of that design language, narrative, maybe even like like it has that peaceful approach to it, right? It has that something that you want to own or live in or to travel in the future. So I was probably driven by that. I had that kind of approach to it. Yeah. These are sketches, and so basically it started from there, and it just always when I design something, I like to design from inside out. So I like to block out first the. Oh, you know what? Later we will get to it when I'm going to show the process of work. So I'm going to speak about this a bit more. And the second one, that would be the Hesiod spaceship. This one. I think it will fit in the film by Gareth Edwards, the creator. I really like the way they approached it in terms of it's like it's not really future, it's like past, it's like 80s, right? But it just got on a different reality or different universe, right? Like a parallel universe sort of thing, that they developed the technology of robots, and I think that would like language-wise, design-wise, it would fit in there. Also, I think it would fit into Cowboy Bebop somewhat.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the
excellent. Fantastic. Did each one take the same amount of time? Or do you find with your designs like they can vary extremely?
It definitely varies because in terms of like how much time I spend on it, I mean, it's sometimes also this ship is the second ship I showed, the Hesiod, it's much larger, but it took me less time to design and to model it rather than the previous one. Maybe because of the interior. Interior is a very tricky thing, actually. To have the ergonomic part and to be everything fitting in, and that the character will be comfortably sitting there, And I didn't show, but the way it lands, the manta ray, it has that vertical landing, and the character comes out basically standing out of the ship. And and all that together, kind of thinking about the chassis, how it's going to land, how it's going to, all that additional elements. It took me more time to design that thing rather than the big Hesiod ship.
Both excellent, and I like how they, from the worlds they meant for, were inspired by. For example, obviously the second one was more like like hypothetical, but you can definitely see that in the creative universe, for example. And even just seeing that design exercise of reinterpreting with other things, that's a great technique. Like that's a great way to explore the shape and a design. And yeah, excellent stuff. Final segment, breakdown. Do you have a project that you could break down for us, showing your process?
Okay. Can you see my interface?
Yep.
So I like to start with the character reference. To have a scale for the reference that would, kind of have the starting point and show me the proportions of the vehicle I create. I did this a couple days before our call, so it took me several hours, couple days. That's why I'm just going to activate the layers to show you like just the process. So I'm not going to model it, but I'm just going to kind of highlight. Fine. So that's the character. Then what is important is to have a room where this character is going to be, sitting, laying, flying in, and so on. So I block out this early on. So let's say that's the place where he's going to be present in. Next, I would start blocking out the general shape. So I would what's going on? Yes. So, by the way, this is the ship that I have a sketch of in my portfolio on ArtStation. It's one of the. It's a first sketch in the last post. So if you find it out there, I think I can show you as. Let me see where I find it. A second. So this is this ship basically. Okay. Then what is important for me is to have the general shape. So it's like I'm going to have something like this. Even though the interior might not fit to it, but that's totally fine because for me it's important that, it's very important that the interior fits. In this case, it's just that it's cut. It's a bit less than initially planned. And I would say that's perfectly fine. The character will fit in there. Even two characters might fit. So I was thinking that maybe they would have a bunk bed there and they might like lay over each other. Something in that fashion. It's enough room for two of them to lay there and enough room to walk around and maybe someone who's going to sit and fly it, basically. Okay. So when I have that done, next step would be to create the blockout. So basically, for the blockout, there are two things important. It's important to have the proportions and the surfacing. If you can do this both early on without, like if I would do this in, for example, in 3D Max, I would think about like blocks. I would create a block of like 2 boxes, for example, right, and adjust them to the shape is required. But in this case, Moi allows me actually to create this directly with these splines. It's like NURBS modeling kind of thing. And I would just, kind of take this, do that, and get the block out. So it's already part of it. Let me find out. Yeah, it kind of looks close to it, right?
And when you're building it, like when you go by your sketch, is the sketch more there, like you use it more like to give you the kind of like feel and a vibe, or do you try and capture it almost as one-to-one?
I try to capture it. No, actually, no, I interpret it each time. I come up with, because like it's a guide. So basically a sketch is just a guide. I would have it
yes,
as a reference, as a, like where I go. If the sketch works for me in terms of proportions and surfacing, then I would just use it the way it is. But the thing is that when you start translating it into 3D, it has, it's unavoidable modification. It has to have unavoidable modifications, basically. You have to, it's many times you wouldn't be able to represent, for example, what's going on behind, on the back of the ship or on the top, or you're not really sure how it will look from the side, right? Since it's just a perspective kind of shot. So it's a lot of estimation and a lot of kind of adjusting and going with the flow. So at the end of the day is going to be looking like the sketch, but it would have some changes, and I think that would just improve and add to the design. Because when you see it from different angles, you just have that like freedom, additional freedom to modify it and to add additional details. For example, here I wanted to incorporate like two volumes. So there is like a volume that is exterior, right? Like all that part, basically. And there is another volume that kind of goes inside. So it's like a double, if you pay attention, or if I'm going to have, for example, different colors on it, the readability would be that there is one that as a scaffolding on the outside, like as a structural form, and there is another form that is inside, and they kind of support each other, and they look integrated. So that would be like readable as that form. This thing is still like work in progress. So
sure,
this is how far I got it, but it can give you an idea. So this is just a block out, basically. From here, I would continue with adding additional details. So what is important is to have the primary volume, secondary volume, tertiary volumes. And so basically, if I put it this way, right, and see the reference, that would be pretty close, I think, right? Missing some details, but it goes in the right direction. So that's one thing. Let me show you other projects then that I've been preparing for. Let me go even more back. So, yeah, I think that's very representative. As soon as I had that sketch that I showed you earlier, that was just a guide, basically, and I knew that the big shape is like, it would look like big wings on the sides, and this integrated oblong shape to the whole, like these wings and additional elements like there, plus the tail. So basically, these were the core elements. And from there, I was just taking it step by step into getting close to the sketch. And I think this is an example where I was considering the sketch, but I was just going with the flow with the spaceship. So yeah, slowly getting, I really like if you think about the Sony controller, I got inspired from there partially on these elements, like they have the black lines on the controller. So I wanted to have something that is like negative space, so something that would have that structure to the slick surfacing. And that's next step further on. And this is start dialing into details already, and getting like all the elements that slowly bring me to the final model. You can see that it has harder time to open as well.
Yeah. With the different versions that you have, is that something you do strategically, or has that just been like a habit over the years?
Actually, it's a strategic thing, because Moi is it's how to say, if you committed to something, you can't go back. Like, you don't have a history.
Right.
And many times I would want to get the element from the progress from the early stage into and develop it further. So if I change something, for example, I had like this element to it, and all of a sudden I change my mind and I don't like it anymore, or I want to do something else instead. It would be much easier if I would take this element, this particular surface from the previous model, and build on it again, rather than modifying this element. So that's why I save them as a sequence, because it gives me like the ability to make a step, to go back to the future, go back to the past and make a new kind of decision about it. Okay, so let me see the interior. Oh, that's a half on. Okay, let me see something else. Fine. Okay, I think this one has the interior integrated already into it. So if I'm going to hide this, yeah, you can see that there is this interior there. With this interior particularly, I wanted to have like half of it that it's a screen sort of thing. So if you sit in the chair, you have partly open like windows kind of view through, and screen view as well through. So basically you could see the bottom side of your horizon when you fly through the screens, and the upper part through the windows, basically the glass on the top. So that was the idea. All right. Yeah, so that's the okay, landing position. Let me show the last one just to clarify on how it lands. That's the functional part. And if you look into my portfolio, there is I think I did several images with this particular landing, so that it kind of explains the way it looks.
Oh.
This and that.
And this was what you assembled in 3ds Max, right?
No, I mean, yes. For rendering, no, actually, this was Keyshot. So I had the models from Moi.
Okay.
So this is the way it looks, and I would just bring it to Moi, prepare everything, like separate elements as objects or like groups, and then bring them into Keyshot and readjust everything so that it looks the way I want to tell the story. Yeah, so that's the Monterey, and now I'll go back to let me see. That's a blockout for Hesiod. As you can see, early on the shape is already there. I don't need to do like a particular blockout from blocky elements, like as if I would do it in 3D Max or like other classic 3D tools. Because I use NURBS, and it kind of I block it out directly the way I want it to have. And from there, basically just adding up. Yeah, you can see that it's most of the time I model it like on one half, and then I mirror it. So that's basically the intermediate. And let me show you the final one. And that's basically the final model. It's a lot of details, and you can see that most of the time I would do this work in 3D Max. I would have a main block out and bring it to 3D Max and add the kit bash and like additional elements to it. But that was an exception here. I just decided to do everything in Moi, so yeah, it just took me a bit more time to model it out and make all the details. But I think eventually at the end of the day...
Do you find there's any issue when you export this, like as it is? So when you got all the details in, do you find when you export it, it's maybe it breaks a little bit, or does it hold all its form and tessellation, all that good stuff?
Most of the time it's all fine. Most of the time. Sometimes there are some issues with geometry, but it depends on which software you bring them. So if I bring it to 3D Max, I would have to have a higher density of polygons so that everything looks good there. Keyshot surprisingly takes it with the lower density, and it still has a very good representation of the geometry.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's the Hesiod.
Perfect, Andrian. That's brilliant. Excellent breakdowns, and already got my brain spinning with where to go with certain ideas and stuff. So very, very cool. And I really admire and just enjoy like the way you handle form and details, and even like the shut lines and the balance of all that kind of good stuff is very, very, very well done. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts or words from yourself, either to the audience, to your younger self, or maybe even your future self that's in the cryopod still?
Yeah, we kind of we kind of didn't speak about the AI and all that thing, but maybe we keep it for the next time because it's a big thing that it's a big impact we have on our particular industry. And if I would know that happens, I would probably make different decisions early on, but maybe not. So maybe like just to if I would give an advice to my younger self, I would say have a goal that is more than money. Have a goal that has like an open ending, basically something that will drive you. When you pursue your career, you don't have to be only driven by the financial kind of incentive, right? There has to be something more than that, because there is a limit to when you work for money, it's a different it's a different mindset. It burns out because you don't have a thing that you like to do and that drives you and that inspires you, and that's something that you say, no matter what, I'm going to do that because something that I'm really into. And I think that's very like applicable to younger students. Maybe just find what is the thing that makes you move and just pursue it, like go for it, try to achieve it, try to work towards it. And it might come and go, but it's like you have to accept it as a signal and just move in the direction that calls you. I think that's one of the things, that important things that kind of affected my career in general. That not only career, but the way the way I work, the way I kind of create things.
Perfect. Well put. Well said. Andrian, thanks so much for your time, and thanks so much for dropping all those gems. Appreciate it, man.
Pleasure. Thank you for amplifying it. And I can't wait to see it, actually.
Sick, sick. Cool, man.